This is Free Talk Live. We are at day number 3 at Forkfest 2019, and joining me now,
it's Mark.
And I'm Ian Freeman, and we're here doing a special broadcast at the Libertarian Decentralized Camping Festival, known as Forkfest. It may be the only such festival in existence. Although, don't they have like one that's pretty unorganized down in Arizona?
Yeah, they have the Jackalope Freedom Festival, and then there's the Midwest Liberty Conference. I think there's a few of them.
Is Midwest Liberty Conference unstructured?
I don't know. I haven't been to it.
I'm asking you about ones that are unstructured,
I understand.
Decentralized. So anyway, we're here at Forkfest. I don't think there's anything quite like this, and it's year number 3. Where liberty-minded folks, libertarians, voluntarists, anarchists are coming to beautiful Rogers Campground in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. Just an absolutely splendid location to have any kind of festival or camping event or whatever. If you can't make it up this year for this, well, you should still come out to Rogers Campground anytime you're in New Hampshire and you want to stay at just an amazingly beautiful campground. This place is pretty awesome. We love coming here every single year, and of course, Forkfest is a perfect excuse for it. As I said, we're on day number 3, and so we're at this point, Mark, about halfway, not even quite to the halfway point. Little bit later today, it'll be the halfway point, and so there's still time for you to come out if you're in New England. If you're, around this region and you want to swing on up to Rogers Campground, there's no ticket price, so it's not like you have to buy a day pass or anything like that as far as Forkfest is concerned. Now, the campground does have, I think, a $5 day fee, because if you're going to be using their bathrooms and running their water and stuff, then that makes sense that they need to bring in a few bucks.
Yeah, we're really just getting started here. It's Saturday morning, so, people are just rising and shining at this point, so they're going to have a fun weekend. I think the weekend is the heart of Forkfest.
Yeah, it really is. Like day number 1, always like the slow day when the hardcores kind of show up, just the few people trickle in. We set up our tent on Thursday in the rain, because it was raining all day long on Thursday, and it was cold. Today, it's overcast. It's not too cold. It's a little chilly, but it's not too cold. So you and I we're in hoodies out here on the campground today.
Hopefully it'll warm up just a little bit.
Yeah, there's a chance. Yesterday was nice. It was sun almost all day. A brief shower in the late afternoon, but that was about it. Yesterday was a pretty beautiful day. I don't think you got here until late in the afternoon, though, right?
About 3 p.m.
Yeah. So I think we'd wrapped up our show for the day at that point. But, we have a great time here, and this particular event is looking to be, I think it may be a little bit bigger. At the very least, as far as attendance is concerned, it seems to be about on par so far. But then again, Thursday and Friday tend to be the slower days. You start to see a little bit more people coming in like a Friday evening because, the folks get off work and they can start heading up here, which is why the people that don't live in New Hampshire that are coming from far away, we're going to see more of those folks showing up probably today.
I agree. Yeah.
Likely. And then, of course, everything culminates on Monday with the return of the Big Gay Dance Party, which has been gone actually, they renamed it. It's like now like the Somalian Road Builders Disco, I think, or something like that.
Hilarious.
So that's going to be like the final big event on Monday night, and then on Tuesday, folks will be taken off. Some will be staying for the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which is a ticketed event for libertarians at this very same park that starts on Tuesday and rolls through Sunday.
Lots of speeches, that kind of thing.
Exactly. So we're here, and we've got things to talk about in the news. I guess there's like a potential war starting between Iran and the U.S. Military. Mark, I just found out about this because when I'm out here at this campsite, it's hard to pay attention to anything besides what's going on right in front of me because there's always people to talk to. There's always lots of people hanging out and coming in watching the show, and it's a great time to meet people. And I haven't seen anything about world news. Apparently, there have been some attacks with what they call limpet mines on a couple of oil tankers.
That's what's alleged. We don't know at this point. The investigation is just now starting. Apparently, there's some attacks on some tankers in the Gulf of Oman.
Well, the Iranian government has investigated and determined they had nothing to do with it, and the U.S. government's investigated and determined the Iranian government has something to do with it.
Right, and that's what they're calling the rest of the governments of the world are calling that escalation. So. We don't know what happened. Maybe the Iranian government did attack. If so, it's probably worth talking about what's going on in Yemen and this proxy war that's occurring between Saudi Arabia and Iran inside Yemen, and Saudi Arabia, thus the United States. That's probably worth discussing. And if that's the case, then this is an escalation beyond that and whatever. These are not U.S. tankers. The Japanese and Norwegian tanker. Each of them, one's Japanese, one's Norwegian.
Now, is the idea that Iran would attack these tankers for what reason? Aren't they an oil-producing nation?
I can't figure that part out, is why would Iran make these attacks? And I don't have a good answer for you.
Well, according to the CNN article here, Iran has strenuously denied any involvement in the attack. The Pentagon, of course, had tough words for Iran as the U.S. continues to assert its claim that Tehran was responsible for the attack on the 2 oil tankers in international waters after releasing video footage that it says shows an Iranian patrol boat removing an unexploded mine from one of the vessel's hulls. Now,
I'm no Iranian naval expert, so
right.
I can't tell you whether this boat is Iranian or not. I'm going to have to take somebody's word for that.
Let's take their word for it. We looked at this, video, or at least what looked like an animated GIF on CNN's website that they pulled from this video. And I commented to you, it looks like it was filmed in 1920.
I'm pretty sure I saw the Bigfoot and a UFO in it, too.
Yeah,
it's that bad. It's really awful.
It's black and white, which it's 2019. Why is there black and white footage coming from anything? That's weird.
It could be a drone, I guess.
Why aren't the drones outfitted with color cameras?
HD, I don't know.
Yeah, this doesn't make any sense. And also, it's just kind of, it's super grainy. It's probably a crop in on, maybe some wider footage perhaps, but it's not good looking. You can't really tell what's going on at all. It does appear that there's definitely a smaller boat alongside what appears to be a tanker.
Yep.
And there are definitely people on the smaller boat. It appears as though there's somebody sort of on the front of the smaller boat, maybe removing something from the hull of the tanker. But if the Iranians have put bombs on these boats, why would they go up and remove it? Like if one of your ordnances doesn't explode on the target, right? Every now and then you got fireworks, there's going to be a dud, right? Like every now and then a bomb, it's probably going to be a dud.
Sure.
So if your bomb successfully attached itself, because apparently these limpet mines are magnetic mines. Okay. There's an article at the New York Times that tells more about exactly how they work. But apparently these mines are magnetic, so presuming they are floating in the water or shot at a ship or something, or just attached themselves to a ship, then why would you go and retrieve the thing? Maybe it's because it's got their signature on it or their insignia and they didn't want to get caught. It's weird.
Seems like a bad idea to put your insignia on bombs anyway. But
right. Presumably it would have whatever insignia of whoever made the bomb, if any insignia whatsoever. And then you might be able to say, oh, well, we know Iran is doing deals with this bomb-making company, and so therefore it was Iran.
Picking up evidence is a long-held tradition amongst criminals. I'm not sure that that's not the case. I'd hate to be the guy whose job it is to go on the front of the boat and pull the magnetic explosive off.
Yeah, the dud. Supposed dud.
Right. That seems like a crappy job. I also kind of wonder, why is it so high on the boat? You would think that a mine means something that's low in the water. Maybe I'm wrong on this. I don't know. I don't know how these limpet mines are deployed or anything. But
I do have an article about that from the New York Times. But that is an excellent question. Why would this thing be basically not just out of the water level, but high enough to be on top of, okay, so you got a man standing on the front of a boat. So it's as high as that man standing on this little boat.
Yep.
So, this is several feet out of the water.
Yeah, that boat has pretty high freeboards. It's not like, it's not like some Hobie cat sitting low in the water.
According to the New York Times, with President Trump and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo asserting that Iran was behind the explosions, they then released this video. Removing a weapon called a limpet mine, or that's what they're alleging. We have no idea what this object is. Although the operator of one of the tankers said Friday the vessel had been struck by a, quote, flying object. Expressing doubt the mine had been attached to its hull, that a mine had been attached to its hull, the United States stuck to its explanation. What are limpet mines? They're a type of naval mine that is usually manually placed by a swimmer, diver, or frogman.
Well, that's not going to work.
On the underside of a ship's hull. Well, if this was attached by a swimmer, it sure as hell wasn't attached 10 feet out of the water or whatever it was.
Okay. Yeah.
Named for a type of mollusk or shellfish. We'll continue and tell you more about it here as we're live. Talk Live. We're at Forkfest 2019 for day number 3. You can go to forkfest.party to learn more about the event. I put a little update on there early this morning, just kind of letting people know how things are going, that there's actually, according to my count, 4 food vendors here set up as of yesterday evening.
Nice.
So that's way over what we had last year, where there was like one guy selling, I think it was actually Patrick from Liberty.menu. He was selling breakfast burritos on a couple of days, like starting Saturday morning. So now we've had way more food vendors here, and I don't know if we're on par with the number of attendees. It's hard to really tell compared to last year. What are your thoughts, Rich Paul, just now joining us on Free Talk Live?
My thought is I would love to have a good way to do a census of the attendees here.
Right, because you don't know how many of these people out here are just here because they're normally here at Rogers Campground this time of year, or how many of them are here for Forkfest, although we just saw an RV drive by with a Gary Johnson sticker on it, so it's pretty safe to assume that that's probably one of our guys.
The Libertarian candidate for president
Thank you for that,
2016.
Everybody that I've encountered here so far has been a porcupine.
Okay, cool.
Except for the staff, but there are probably a couple of other people in the park, and they're New Hampshireites in general, so they don't care
They're
what
cool.
we do. It's fun. I think if they come up here this week, it's because they enjoy us too.
Something else that, and before we get back to the bombings of these tankers and what types of bombs were used and all that, I want to make sure that you know about cryptocurrency wallets, specifically my favorite, which is Edge Wallet.
I just used mine yesterday, actually.
I'll be using it this morning, I think, to buy my breakfast.
Yep, I was able to go to one of the food vendors over there. And
Who'd you go to?
Matt.
Okay, cool.
Site 82.
Yep, that's right.
And got what did I get? I got some what do you call salt potatoes.
How were they?
They taste like potatoes to me.
Were they salty?
They were good.
Were they salty potatoes?
But I don't know. I mean, maybe I just have too much salt in my life. And I didn't really notice, but I mean, it was tasty. They were basically boiled potatoes boiled in salt, and I guess they're a thing from sort of upstate New York, and I enjoyed them.
Yeah,
nonetheless. And
I had some chili from them last night. The bowl with cornbread in it and then chili poured on top of it. It was like a chicken chili.
That's good.
It was really hearty. It was exactly what I needed for the end of the night, and good prices, easy servings.
Was that
over
at the
there.
Roach Coach?
Yep, sure was.
Nice.
Yeah, and they were the first ones that were set up for food, and that was yesterday morning. So it was nice to have food available relatively early in the festival this time around, and I think that we're on track for a good one here.
Yeah, the thing that I'm going to do differently, I think, next year, or I hope to do differently next year, I would love to have to show up like the day before so that when people start trickling in to set up, they can get a meal while they're setting up their restaurant. We need it's kind of like a pioneering force. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and of course next year
the Scouts.
Next year we've talked about Forkfest expanding to 7 days as well, so that's a whole other thing. But want to make sure you know about Edge.app. That is the Edge wallet. If you want to get into cryptocurrency, or if you're old school, you've been in crypto for a long time, this is a great wallet for anybody. You can buy, sell, trade, and of course securely hold your cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, the various tokens for Ethereum, Monero, Ripple, Stellar, Dash, and more. Just go to Edge.app or download it for your iOS or Android cell phone. Edge.app is their website. Secure your freedom with Edge Wallet. So obviously we're going to talk more about, and there goes Derek J. from anypay.global. I definitely want to grab him and talk about the odyssey of putting up this dome that they have, which is still under construction, I believe, as we speak. They haven't wrapped the top of it yet, right? I'm not facing it.
It is not currently covered, but I was there for the putting most of it together.
Yeah, the capstone is on. I'm amazed. I've never seen somebody build one from the bottom before.
Yeah, it was.
They made it work.
I want to talk to him about it because it was definitely a learning experience for I think everyone involved, and it's still under construction. But that's where the big gay dance party is going to be later on this weekend. So anyway, it's Edge.app. Let's get back into the story here about these bombs that were alleged to be on the sides of the tankers that the U.S. government is claiming the Iranian government planted there.
Right. And I think one of the problems with the U.S.'s story here is that they've
the military is like all governments, known liars. That's one problem.
Well, certainly one should look back to the recent past with the stories of yellow cake and that sort of thing in Iraq,
and also the less recent past. Check out the single sinking of the Maine. Check out the Gulf of Tonkin incident.
Sure.
Check out any of the incidents. Check out the insanity of how we ended up in World War I.
And World War II, where they basically set up with the McCollum Memo the Japanese to bomb Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, set up, but they had a plan.
They knew it was coming.
They wanted it to happen,
and they wanted it to happen, and it was one of those cases
where it would happen.
Yeah, and it was one of those cases where they let civilians die by not saying what they knew.
Yeah.
You know, that's pretty harsh.
So what you're going through there, Rich, is a short history of some of the various lies that the U.S. military has told in order to persuade the people to just do what they want them to do, to join the military, to die at the behest of these politicians, and to back the U.S. military's warmongering efforts around the world.
Yeah, it's and they never stop.
And, of course, the yellow cake was what convinced a lot of people that the second invasion of Iraq was a good idea. And guess what?
It was convincing to me.
That was a lie.
It was convincing to me when
Colin
Powell...
It was just lemon cake.
when Colin Powell, went there and he made the statements and then went before the UN, it convinced me. I was like, okay, that's enough. I believe it. And
Colin Powell had credibility until then.
Right.
He was not a known liar until, at least not known to me as a liar until that point.
And I'm not claiming he lied. I'm not claiming he told the truth. I don't know what the Bush administration knew when they knew it, but certainly what I can say is that the evidence turned out to be false.
See, I remember knowing because the company that I'd worked for, it was a startup company, and they decided to become a naval contractor. And I hired this guy, a couple of ex-military people as consultants. So they could do that, and then one of them got sent to Iraq, and he said he was going to Iraq to look for weapons of mass destruction. This must have been 2003, and I said, "Oh, do you have experience with that kind of manufacturing?" So I knew. Maybe Colin Powell didn't know, but I knew. Maybe you should have asked me.
So, they don't ask us, but what they do is they do ask us. They more than ask. They demand we pay for it, and they ask us to fight and die for it. And
ain't nobody got time for that.
Like what one needs to do when one is looking at these situations is to, take a wry eye as to what any government says, including the United States government. Yes, I am not a fan of the Iranian government.
No, they're bad people too.
But
haven't found a government I like yet.
Yeah. There's lots of evidence that the United States government has told lies. The people in the United States government have told lies. Why? I don't know. I don't know what their reasoning is. We can speculate wildly for a long period of time. But
war is the help of the state.
And here's where we can go to avoid speculating wildly. Who created the current Iranian government? The U.S. government created the current Iranian government.
Well, I'd say they were responsible for its creation.
Well, they were responsible for its creation. In 1953, Iran was a civilized country. A woman could walk down the street in a bikini in Iran in 1953. Then they had an electric government, which was a little bit left of center, but not too bad. And the problem is they were getting raped by British Petroleum because they had been a British colony. And this guy was tired of it. And
I want you to tell the rest of the story here. So we're going to come back to it. We'll make a note. We'll continue the sort of brief history of the Iranian government as it exists today and how it got there. And more coming up here on Free Talk Live. We're live from...
You love Bitcoin. It's the future, right? Well, no, not if everyone stops using it. I mean, think about it. How many places in your town take Bitcoin? One? None? Let's be real. If this Bitcoin thing is ever going to happen, it's going to need your help. The good news is the guys at AnyPay have your back. We built a website called helpmetakebitcoin.com, and it's a place you can send any business, and they'll be set up to take Bitcoin in 5 minutes. helpmetakebitcoin.com.
It's Free Talk Live. We're at Forkfest 2019 for day number 3 of what is a 5-day-long libertarian decentralized camping festival. Of course, throughout the show, we're going to tell you more about it and how things have been going on along this year. You can go to forkfest.party to learn more about it right now and connect to the Forkfest forum and the Telegram chat room if you want to see what's going on here. Anyway, also, we're going to continue talking about what's happening in the Gulf of Oman with a couple of tankers attacked recently. Now the U.S. government claiming that it was Iran. The Iranian government saying, nope, we didn't do it. And we're going to tell you more about the bombs that were involved. Rich was giving us a bit of a history of the government of Iran, and we'll get back into that. But I do want to let you know about Bitcoin.com. That is a great place to go to learn about Bitcoin Cash, but also to now purchase and sell Bitcoin Cash on their new website, local.bitcoin.com. That's local.bitcoin.com. They just kicked it off about a week and a half ago, and I've been watching it very, very closely. I'm very interested in seeing this site take off, and I think it's had a good launch. It's still pretty early. You know, there's a number of sellers that are on the site buying. There's people buying. There's people selling. Basically, you can place an advertisement for whatever it is you want to do, or you can just go in there and respond to one of the advertisements that's already there. If you're looking to purchase Bitcoin Cash, or like I said, sell it, you can use dozens of payment methods. So PayPal, Venmo, bank deposits, remittances, or just meet somebody in person and give them cash or accept cash for your Bitcoin Cash. The communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted on local.bitcoin.com, which means not even the administrators of the website can read your conversation. Unless, of course, you have a dispute, in which case then you need to bring an arbitrator in, and you can then give the arbitrator access to you decide, you know, who's given access. In this case, Bitcoin.com is handling arbitrations in the beginning, but later on they're going to add allowing other people to be arbitrators on the site as well. So like a professional arbitrator that you can bring in, you know, because every now and then between buyers and sellers, somebody disagrees on something, and you got to have somebody, a third party, come in and decide on that. And in addition to it being encrypted, they also don't require any know your customer stuff. So you don't have to jump through identification hoops in order to start an account on the website, which is pretty cool.
Now, why do they get away with that? Is that because it's just people selling Bitcoin to people and not to business buying and selling Bitcoin?
It's because the site itself is non-custodial, meaning that you are not handing your Bitcoin Cash over to the site to hold on to. Like the way the site they're competing with works, you have to deposit into that site, and then they put that money into an escrow during the sale. Here,
which makes an exit scam possible.
That does make an exit scam possible, and it certainly means that they are then, you know, you could argue they're a money transmitter in that particular case as well. So by keeping the site clean of your Bitcoin Cash, it's just a smart contract that your Bitcoin Cash goes into when the trade opens.
No hack? No, no KYC, know your customer laws.
Right, they can't be hacked because they're not holding your coins, which is awesome. So
it's a huge step up.
That would be really neat if you had a money transmitter license would be setting up a business similar to Western Union, but rather than having your own money transmittal network, have the people like Walmarts and the stores where you can get money, have them balance their books by sending Bitcoin to each other.
There's actually, I think Doug Scribner has been working on something like that for a little while. You may know Doug from previous events here at the at like Forkfest.
I would probably know him if I saw him. I'm usually 3 sheets to the wind. So
he used to sell. I think
yes,
it was he used to sell like milkshakes here. He was Ms. Porcupole the first year of the big dance
I
party.
heard about that.
Yeah,
guy.
He's a cool guy. He's got a series of ATM machines that allow people to pay their bills. It's called Vault Logic.
Are these ATMs or vending machines?
All of the above. They're like a traditional bank ATM, but they also do crypto sales, and they'll let people like pay their power bill and things like that. And they actually pay people to move money from one machine to the next. If like one machine's low and the other machine has money, they'll pay. Like you could be like a homeless guy and get paid just to pick up some cash and move it from one point to another. It's very interesting.
I hope they're doing better security than that, because random homeless people will run off with your money most of the time.
Yeah, I forget what there was a method that there was some sort of mechanism they had to make sure that didn't happen, and it was really smart, but I just don't remember offhand what it was. But check them out.
You can use homeless people as couriers. They work great, but make sure you select them very carefully and test them with small amounts.
They're called Vault Logic. You should check them out. They might be doing exactly what you talked about there. Yeah. So anyway, let's get back into it here. Again, check out local.bitcoin.com. Rich, you were telling us kind of a brief history of the government of Iran and how in the 50s you used to be able to be a lady in a bikini on the streets of Iran.
Yeah, it wasn't always this crazy theocracy.
Exactly. So what happened is in 1953, the elected democratic leader of Iran started wanting to nationalize some of the assets of British Petroleum, which isn't a good thing to do. The government shouldn't be running businesses, but British Petroleum was, in all fairness, raping them because they made those agreements when Iran had no political structure to speak of. So anyway, the British government called up the U.S. government and asked us to do something about the Iranian government. So the CIA went in, and I've read some accounts of the thing. They were putting out rumors that this leader, I think his name was Milosevic, was although that sounds Russian, so maybe that's wrong.
Isn't that the guy in like Bosnia?
Yeah, that's
okay, that's right. That was Bosnia. It was, but it sounded something like that. I can't remember the guy's name.
He's gone now.
But basically, the CIA went in. They put in a bunch of rumors he was a child molester and a bunch of other things. He was unseated, and he was replaced by the CIA by a guy named the Shah of Iran. The Shah of Iran was a brutal dictator. He tortured like 10,000 people to death while he was in office, and he especially loved persecuting the Muslims. And he created, by doing that, when you throw the Christians to the lions, okay, it makes the Christians stronger. Because they look at the faith those people had to go to the lions, and the same thing happens with any religion. If you persecute it, it feeds into their delusions.
Like the Chinese now persecuting the Muslim Uyghurs out in northwest China.
Same sort of thing, except here the Muslims were the majority, and the Muslims slowly radicalized. They eventually overthrew the government in 1979, and at the same time took over the U.S. Embassy. Okay, so they overthrew the Shah, they took over the U.S. Embassy, and this is where I enter the story, because this was the year I became aware of it, was when they took the embassy, and my first reaction was to say, why do they hate us? And I didn't know, because the CIA wasn't telling the truth about what they did.
Well, plus the mainstream media, of course, also tends to go along with whatever the government says, and so you've got this problem where the government lies, the mainstream media tends to believe the lies and propagate those lies, and usually the average person only pays attention when, the big story hits. So like with 9/11, a lot of people were like, oh, where'd that come from? Where all these things happen. And
my reaction was, saw that coming.
Right, exactly.
They were bound to hit us back sooner or later.
Because you'd been paying attention for a couple of decades.
It's like the surprised white people in South Africa who are like, why are these black folks all mad at us? Why are they being mean to us? Yeah. And it's like, well, there were decades of oppression. That's why they're mad at you.
Yeah, it doesn't make it okay, but that's why.
Yeah, it doesn't make it okay, but I'll tell you what, I would have done what Carla did when apartheid ended.
Gotten out?
She fought against apartheid, but then when it ended, she got out because she was smart enough, I assume, to know that these people were going to be pissed.
You're talking about the former president of the Free State Project,
yes.
Eric.
I was looking at the heads of state of Iran. It's Reza Shah was the before the Shah of Iran. So,
Reza Shah.
Yeah, he gave up through surrender on 16th of September 1941.
Interesting.
So now you have more, potential tensions of war that are being created in the Gulf of Oman with tankers being bombed, and it's not clear exactly how these things have happened yet. The U.S. government has a story that they're telling.
When did it happen? When did it happen?
Very recently, like within the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, but not the last couple days.
Few days.
The explosions on two tankers on Thursday, actually. So
yeah, Thursday. There were statements by Trump were released on Friday.
Both of them on the same day, I guess. The two attacks.
Well, we've got a good alibi.
We got more coming up here. This is Free Talk Live. We are at Forkfest 2019. You can visit forkfest.party to learn more about the event, and we'll be here through Monday. There's more on the way, though, on this Saturday edition. It's Free Talk Live. We're at Forkfest 2019. The website that you can go to learn more about this event is forkfest.party. Will there be one in 2020? Yeah, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll know more about when exactly it's going to be over time, and we'll tell you more about that over when we get to it. But there's more to discuss here about the attacks on tankers in the Gulf of Oman that happened apparently on Thursday. We were learning earlier about the Limpet mines. I've got a story from the New York Times. Tells it a little bit more about exactly what those things are, because those are alleged to be what was used in the bombings. We can continue that discussion. Of course, you can join us in real life here. You can't call into the show because we're actually recording Free Talk Live. It's actually not even the afternoon yet here. It's still in the morning on a beautiful overcast day, but it is not too cold. It also has not yet rained today, so that's a good thing, too, here. And by the way, with you today, it's Ian.
And Mark.
And the nobody formerly known as Rich Paul.
I want to tell you about a new project that Free Talk Live is involved in. Are you a business owner, and do you have your own website? If so, take a listen. I believe this to be one of the most important things to happen in advertising this year. And it is a combination of digital, print, and in this case with Free Talk Live, radio too. You can reach the prospects you want to reach and reach them in a manner that is, it guarantees they're going to hold your advertisement right in their hand, their photo-ready advertisement right in their hand. Please, you can learn more by going to 123.freetalklive.com. This, I believe, is going to be the best return on investment in advertising that's available out there. And it's really only available at this great ROI right now because it's brand new. 123, because it's easy to do, is 123. Go to 123.freetalklive.com. It's 123.freetalklive.com.
So we've been talking about the bombings of the tankers, and this was in the Gulf of Oman. The U.S. government claiming it was the Iranian government's doing. The Iranian government vehemently denying they had anything to do with this. U.S. government releases a very grainy bit of footage that they claim shows the some Iranian boat coming up against or near to the one of the tankers and removing what they are alleging to be a limpet mine. Yeah. Now, what is a limpet mine? According to the New York Times article on this published yesterday, it is a type of naval mine usually manually placed by a swimmer, diver, or frogman on the underside of a ship's hull.
It's magnetic.
Exactly. Named for a type of mollusk or shellfish that sticks to rocks and is hard to remove, limpet mines are similarly stuck fast to their targets, usually with magnets.
The guy who was, quote-unquote, removing this limpet mine from the side of the boat, as claimed by the Trump administration.
In this footage where you can't really tell anything of what's going on.
Did not seem to have any trouble removing whatever it was. If it was somebody removing something, it was certainly somebody, right? And it was certainly a guy on a boat, and that boat could have been Iranian. I don't know.
How easy do they make these things to remove?
Well, they call it a limpet because it's hard to remove.
Right.
That's what the claim they just made.
Then again, if you have, you could hit it with a very small EMP. You could and fry the circuitry. You could disconnect the power source because it's undoubtedly an electromagnet, not a permanent magnet, because otherwise it would stick to their boat and they wouldn't be able to move it.
It looked like he stepped up, removed it, and then stepped back down.
It was not.
I would have expected to see screwdrivers involved, opening the case.
You would never see. Not with this terrible video that we're talking about. You would never see a screwdriver.
So whenever they release a video that shows nothing, I wonder why they did that. It's kind of like the video of the blur hitting the Pentagon.
Well, because they don't need to really have. In this day and age with people just looking at headlines, they don't really need to have a good-looking video, right? It's just like, the Pentagon released a video that they say shows the Iranian naval people removing this mine, and most people aren't going to watch the video. Yeah. And if they do watch the video, they'll be like, well, they said it was them removing a mine, so it must be true.
Right. But of course, if you're not there, you don't know if that's a mine. It's a box.
We don't even know what it was. It's so blurry.
It's so awful you couldn't see anything. He could have gotten reached up on a stepladder, got a box of cereal for all I know.
So let me tell you more about the limpet mines here, because again, if this was a limpet mine, the boat that they came up on next to this tanker, you've got a man standing at the front of the boat reaching up to grab whatever this thing is. This thing has to be 10 feet out of the water. So there's no, dude that's going to be swimming up next to this tanker and then being able to plant this mine 10 feet above the water line.
Right. There needs to be
it would have had to be a man standing in a boat to plant the thing.
That's what you would think, yeah. And if so, why would you do that when you could send a man under the hull to, under the water to plant it underneath the water? That
well,
would be
the
ideal.
other thing is the part of the trick to blowing up boats is you want water to enter the boat, so you put the mine under the water line.
Now, unlike larger mines that lie on the sea floor or buoyant mines that are anchored to the bottom of the floor by a chain or cable, limpets are usually not intended to sink a ship. Rather, they're designed to cause a, quote, mission kill, meaning to immobilize the ship and take it out of action. Because if they are taking on water, they're done, right? Like they got to evacuate.
Right. Well, even if they've got a big hole in their boat, they might be done if they're not taking on water. It depends on the priority of the mission.
Are these weapons new? No, they've been around since at least World War II, and most navies around the world have them in their arsenal. A U.S. Navy limpet attack on an enemy ship would be carried out underwater by a Navy SEAL platoon. The limpets they used were designed in the early 1970s and have been updated only modestly in the decades since. How do they work? The mines usually contain small explosive charges and explode through a device called a fuse set by the person who attaches it onto the target. Typically, these fuses function via time delay, either through chemical processes or mechanical means. Some models incorporate a secondary anti-removal fuse that will cause the mine to explode if someone tries to take it off of the hull of the vessel.
Okay, now that calls to mind a big question about how somebody gets up to that mine and just immediately removes it, because wouldn't they have to check for that circuit and potentially disable that circuit before they could remove the mine if it's a real mine properly installed? I would say they would, because they don't know for sure what that mine is unless they put it there. They don't know the part number.
Well, we don't know.
Publishes these things.
From the video that we got to see, we don't know what happened sort of before and after.
Somebody could have gone and inspected it first.
Right. It could be.
Or even disabled it from the other side of the hull, from the inside, maybe.
Any of these things could have happened. The Trump administration needs to go significantly farther than just yelling limpet mine. And I think that it's quite possible Iran did this. And if so, if they did this, exactly why are we going to expend U.S. treasure and lives over a Japanese and Norwegian tanker? I mean, there's another question you need to ask yourself.
This was a Japanese tanker? It wasn't even American?
No!
Oh, good Lord.
Right, it's just, like, this is boom, boom, boom. The war drums are coming over and over again. It reminds me so much of what happened with 9/11 and going into Iraq and all this nonsense.
Well, it reminds me of World War I, too, because remember they sunk a German flag. No, the Germans sunk a French-flagged cruise ship that happened to have Americans on it.
But was also carrying weapons.
It was also carrying weapons, and so we literally went to war in World War I for the right of Americans to ride with impunity on belligerently flagged ships hauling munitions through a war zone. Nobody can do that with impunity. They're not supposed to be able to. That's not how war zones work.
There's probably a little more to the Lusitania story than that. There was Germany's contact with Mexico and a few other things. But that doesn't the United States shouldn't have gotten into World War I, and the United States getting into World War I, most historians would agree, directly led to Hitler's rise to power.
Yeah, without, if we had not gotten involved in World War I, the rout of the Germans in World War I would have been much less of a rout. It would have been more of an even battle, which would have placed them in a much better negotiating position in Versailles, and they probably would not have agreed to the disastrous treaty at Versailles, which led to hyperinflation in Germany and led to the rise of Hitler. Hyperinflation is it makes people so desperate that they will grab onto any hope.
So how do you defend against a limpet mine? Well, U.S. Navy ships have protocols for what they call anti-swimmer watches. They post lookouts who walk on the weather decks and keep an eye on the water below, looking for bubbles released by a diver or anything else that doesn't look like fish or marine life. If they see something suspicious, they could be authorized to drop a concussion hand grenade, which produces a large blast wave but little fragmentation.
I didn't realize that they would give the guys on these watches fragmentation grenades. Concussion grenades. I had no idea.
Since sound travels about 4 times faster in water than in air, the effects from such a weapon could travel quite far. Underwater blasts would hammer at someone's sinuses and lungs and could wound or kill a diver. The ship would
pretty
then
easily.
The other thing is the density of water. So you think of the pain that can be caused by airwaves against your eardrum, and then multiply that if it's water against your eardrum, because water is extremely dense, and you can deafen somebody underwater pretty easily. Learn that scuba diving.
At that point, the ship would then call in an explosive ordnance disposal, or EOD, team to respond. The Navy has a permanently deployed element in Bahrain, and the nearby aircraft carrier, the USS Abraham Lincoln, would also have a small team aboard. Those technicians could respond to the tankers fairly quickly. And what would that team do? They would deliver a pair of swimmers to quickly search the ship's hull at the waterline. And we'll talk more about these limpet mines that the U.S. government is alleging was used against the tankers that were attacked on Friday in the Gulf of Oman. We've got more.
I'm crazy about My Magic Mud. This is the most important oral care product created this millennium, and I'm not kidding. We all have different opinions on politics and issues, but we all have mouths. And I want yours to be as clean as possible, with teeth as bright as they were meant to be. I will never be without My Magic Mud. It's a little surprising, but man, does it work. If you only listen to one thing I say ever, go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL. mymagicmud.com, code FTL.
It's Free Talk Live. We are at Forkfest 2019, and of course, this is the Libertarian Decentralized Camping Festival, meaning that there's nobody who's in charge here, except for you and everybody else. I mean, ultimately, the campground has a set of rules, but they're pretty easygoing.
They're laid back like dead flies.
Yeah, so, by the way, with you here on our program, you'll be listening tonight, but we're recording it during the afternoon. It's Ian.
And Mark.
And the nobody formerly known as Rich Paul.
So we're at Forkfest 2019. If you're just tuning into the show, how would you guys define Forkfest?
Forkfest is a camping event, and it's largely populated by libertarian folks with similarly like mine. It's just a lot of fun. There's parties, but people think about the party aspect of it as central. I don't think it is. I think that everybody has their own Forkfest.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
For instance, my son is running around with a pack of tweens boys here, and I think there's some girls too. I don't know. They're running around. They're playing tag. They're adventuring. They're doing all kinds of stuff. Their Forkfest is completely wholesome.
Sure.
Or whatever. Here I am. I'm having a soda without even any caffeine in it. It's different for everybody.
I've smoked a little ganja, but that's sacramental.
Now, I mean, Mark, one of the way back when there was the Porcupine Freedom Festival is the only festival of libertarian nature in New Hampshire, and that festival's still going on. It'll be starting on Tuesday here at Rogers Campground. More of a kind of a family-oriented festival these days, but it used to kind of have a mix of both things happening at once. And I remember there was one year where there was a lady who was walking around topless, at least 1 year, maybe more than 1 year. And then there was another gentleman who we know pretty well, that was in a loincloth at one point. And
the topless lady got a lot more love.
Yeah. Well, apparently, there's some people who are offended by these things. So, I mean, Mark, what happens if Jack is running around here with his pack of friends and there's a woman with her top off? Now, it hasn't happened yet, by the way, at any Forkfest that I've been aware of, but it could happen. There's certainly nothing stopping it from happening.
I think Jessica was sunbathing nude at the last Porkfest.
Really?
Yeah. Or Forkfest.
What would happen?
It was before Porkfest started.
I suspect the boys would look.
Yeah.
I think that's what probably is going to happen. I mean,
but then they'll find out that there are boobs.
Well,
right.
I think they probably knew that already.
Well, if you're 10 years old,
but aren't they supposed? Isn't that a secret? Aren't we supposed to be hiding those? So
we were hunting around in the National Geographics when I was in elementary
back
school.
when you had to hunt around for that sort of thing. Now, if you're a young male in the United States and you haven't come across a topless woman, I'd be surprised, given the nature of the internet.
And and the thing is, people will say, "Oh, well, I didn't get my kid a phone," and it's like, do any of his friends have phones?
Yeah.
Because if so, he's seen some boobs.
Do you let him go to his friend's house for a night?
Do you let him go to school?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Hopefully not, because the schools are awful.
Well, right, the schools are awful for a variety of different reasons, and that's a great segue, Rich, because that's was what we were going to get into here. Right around this time, when we're here on the campground, there's still some people who are kind of wrapping up school, because some schools go late into June until they finally have graduation and all that. And news has been going viral, apparently, about one young lady, Mark, and you have a story from Fox News about her, and I actually have the video and what she said at her graduation speech.
Yeah, this is the valedictorian, not just any old young lady.
Is that like the top person in a class?
Second.
No, I think that's there's magna cum laude, summa cum laude, but I think the valedictorian's top.
Okay. Then then there's valedictorian and one other thing.
Salutatorian?
Salutatorian. Okay.
The lesser of the two?
They don't have a libertarian? Maybe we should introduce that if we ever open up a church school.
A California valedictorian used her high school commencement speech last week to accuse office staff of nearly making her lose out on scholarship money. A counselor of never having time for her, and another teacher of being consistently drunk in class.
I've got the audio. Do you want to play audio first and then...
Let's do it.
Okay, here we go. This is from... Jezebel is hosting this one, but it's...
Jezebel!
It's on YouTube.
It's because a lady decided to say it rather than a man deciding to say it, and it's so much more important to Jezebel if a woman says it.
Here we go. Now, I've skipped past the first 50 seconds of this, which is where she's thanking her friends and kind of going through the standard, speechifying graduation speech stuff. But then...
And now there are the people I don't want to thank.
Right. Now, we'll start it on her last positive comment here, where she's thanking some teachers for being particularly good.
Thank you for being so invested in your students' education and well-being. You are the most intelligent, inspiring, and supportive individuals I have had the pleasure of learning from while at SYHS. To my friends, thank you for always being by my side. I appreciate your love and support always, and will treasure the memories we made at this school. To my counselor, thanks for teaching me to fend for myself. You were always unavailable to my parents and I, despite appointments. Only in these past...
Despite appointments.
Right. Made an appointment with the guidance counselor. Couldn't get any work out of him.
And how much do these schools cost?
I have no idea.
What are these guidance counselors getting paid? I bet you it's in the high double digits at least.
Well, you could probably look up the pay scale for that particular school district if you were...
Yeah, I'm thinking 80,000, 75,000, probably somewhere in that range, if not more. These are high-level administrative, guidance counselors have education.
Oh, yeah,
right?
Frequently they're psychologists.
Right.
So, yeah, that could be $250,000.
Could be 100,000 at least, yeah.
150 easily.
California, could be anything.
Well, that's the other thing
point.
Is in California you can be homeless at $100,000 a year into Silicon Valley. So you really have to think about that.
Yeah, this is San Diego, just so you know.
Yeah, it's not the same as California.
San Diego is cheaper. It's a Navy town. It's more blue collar. I kind of enjoyed my time in San Diego. Great deja vu.
When was that you were calling it? It's blue collar. San Diego is known for being a pretty rich place.
Really? Well, that's interesting. I mean, I was mostly down by the Navy Yard. So maybe I saw
there.
Well, it's green collar, I guess, if you're in the military, but they wear blue. So I don't know how that breaks down.
Let's go on here with the speech from, what was her name? Natalie Burr, I think?
Yeah, Natalie Burr.
Let's go on.
Last few weeks, with the award ceremonies and graduation coming up, did you begin making your appearance? And might I note, you expressed to me your joy in knowing that one of your students was valedictorian when you had absolutely no role in my achievements.
Boom! Yeah!
Wow.
I'd have been cheering that speech. They'd have thrown me out.
That comes a little later.
Yeah, they do cheer one of
I
big
think
time.
Everybody's
one of
stunned at this point who's listening. They're just like, what is she saying?
Yeah.
And at this point...
Well, nobody tells the truth. You're expected to cover for these people. And it's very rare for somebody to have the balls to say, no, this person didn't help me at all. This person was paid to help me and did not do their job.
Well, you remember Kate...
Barack Obama would say, well, that little lady didn't pay for that. Or, she didn't build that. She didn't build that. And well, you see, this is the thing, is that, you live in a modern society and you make these greatest of achievements. You do it in spite of everything that the government does to slow you down and mess you up. And then when you achieve, one of the bureaucrats, one of these scum-sucking slime balls comes out and says, well, you didn't do that. You had a whole society built here for it. It's a society that you've ruined every step of the way, every opportunity you've had.
Yes.
The government inserts itself, it breaks your leg, and then hands you a crutch, and then pats itself on the back.
For helping you walk.
Yeah, but if it weren't for San Ysidro High School, Natalie wouldn't be able to read and write.
Natalie would have gone to a real school and gotten real counselors
Or
real
gone
teachers.
to a library. Apparently she was very good at educating herself.
My son's never stepped into a school, and, well, he's doing just fine. He's reading above his grade level.
Most of what I got in trouble for in school was reading a book under my desk while the teachers were lecturing, because they would go so slow that I was bored. So I had time to read and absorb a book and still know everything they were saying, most of which I knew before they said it.
Let's go on with more of Natalie's comments here on her graduation speech as valedictorian.
To the staff in the main office, thank you for teaching me how to be resourceful. Your negligence to inform me of several scholarships until the day before they were due potentially caused me to miss out on thousands of dollars.
All right, so we're going to continue here with Natalie's speech. Natalie Burr from San Ysidro High School as we continue
I
on.
hope that Natalie will not go on to college.
Let's talk about that.
She will teach herself in the future.
Coming up, Free Talk Live. It's Free Talk Live, and we're here at Forkfest, the 2019 edition, year number 3 of this decentralized libertarian camping festival in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. It's absolutely splendid view here on the campus of Rogers Campground. And speaking of campuses, we're going to get back into the high school valedictorian speech where she's tearing up some of these bureaucrats working at the government school that she went to. But first, Mark.
Well, I want to tell you about Freedom Fest. It's the largest liberty-oriented gathering in the world.
That's where we're going next month.
That's right. So we're at Forkfest today, and it's
not the largest.
It's a cute little
it's fun, though.
event, and we're
it's
having
a
fine time.
Yeah.
However, there aren't any great speeches or anything like that. Freedom Fest, well, I mean, Penn Jillette is the keynote. Lenore Skenazy is going to be there. Glenn Beck, Candace Owens, John Mackey, Kevin O'Leary, Kevin Harrington, both of Shark Tank, Stephen Moore. He's on the Federal Reserve Board. Grover Norquist, the taxpayer guy. I mean, it's just a whole bunch of different folks who are...
Yeah, that's a big difference between Penn Jillette and some guy from the Federal Reserve.
Oh.
That's a big difference.
Stephen Moore worked with the Heritage Foundation before that. He has legit cred. I've interviewed him a couple of times on the Edgington Post,
really?
As a matter of fact.
What's he doing on the Federal Reserve Board?
He's been named by Trump.
Wow.
See, I don't know. Trump has talked about the gold standard.
He has.
Talk is cheap.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Is not.
There's going to be lots of debates there and conversations, solutions, that sort of thing. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and get your tickets now. Use coupon code FTL50 and you get a discount. It's freedomfest.com/FTL. And if you go there, and even if you haven't made up your mind yet, you go there, you can see the 5 best speeches from last year for free. So you can see what it is that they're selling, what they sold last year, and it's only available for free here by going to freedomfest.com/FTL. Judge Napolitano, Alan Dershowitz, Charlie Kirk, Heather McDonald, and John Mackey, all their speeches will be free there. freedomfest.com/FTL. This year, Freedom Fest is held July the 17th through the 20th at the Paris in Las Vegas. Please come join us. Get your tickets now, freedomfest.com/FTL.
All right, so we've been sharing with you this speech. It's a video online. It's allegedly gone viral, and for good reason. This young lady speaking at her high school graduation is letting the bureaucracy have it. She is coming right out with her experience, which, of course, in any government school, you're likely going to have some teachers who rise above the standard, who actually do seem to care about giving, kids a good education. So she started her speech by thanking those few, and now she's turning her attention to the bureaucracy. She's attacked the counselor so far for basically not even being there when they would make appointments to talk to him or her.
Excoriated. Attack leaves this whole different, with the bombings going on. She's excoriated.
She is absolutely excoriating them. And then targeting the office staff for her next comments here, basically saying that apparently they could have let her know about some scholarships, but they didn't, even though they had some opportunity to do so she could have missed out on many thousands of dollars as we continue.
When applying for a work permit, you repeatedly turned me away, despite confirming with my employer and parents that all my paperwork was filled correctly.
Now, I presume a work permit is where she could leave school early to go to work?
This lady became the valedictorian and had a job.
Yeah.
Right.
She's amazing.
Work permit, a lot of times, if you're going to get a job and you're in school, you have to get permission to have your job even if you're
At
not
all?
losing. Yes, that's a work permit.
Jeez. Because I knew when I went to school, I don't think they had that in Florida when I went to school, but apparently California.
They had it in Ann Arbor when I went to school.
Wow.
But it's a very liberal town.
And is that something where you have to show the permit to the employer, basically, before they can hire you?
Yeah, so basically I went to work at McDonald's and they limited how many hours I could work.
Now that's true just based on the age. In most places there's a limitation on hours. You have to have a certain number of breaks whatever number of hours.
Yeah, and I think they could have revoked my work permit if my grades had gotten sufficiently bad.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Like, I'm shocked that I guess I shouldn't be shocked. I mean, these people think they own you. They think that you're their cattle, basically, and they'll tell you what to do.
And basically, you are. If you don't show up for their re-education camps, they're going to show up with guns. And maybe throw your parents in jail, are you?
Middle-class welfare, babysitting day prisons. Everybody says that government schools are there so that poor people get a good education. There's no evidence for the statement.
Yeah,
none.
Ask them if they got a good education.
There are public school districts, I think it might be Philadelphia, where none of the students are literate when they graduate. None of them.
I've certainly heard that the average, I've read an article where the average is set 19%
illiteracy rate.
19% functional illiteracy rate among graduates. I can hardly imagine that graduates.
And that's average, so it would be worse in some schools.
Right. Well, in some districts they said as high as 40%. So I don't know about this Philadelphia one. I can neither confirm nor deny.
I think what it was is none of them were reading at grade level.
Okay, that
none
sounds
of them
more
were
plausible.
proficient.
Yeah.
I think saying that all of them were illiterate was probably unfair, but there was nobody was where they should have been.
Well, people have this mythology about government schools that, they may not be the best, but we've got the best one in our area, and so therefore, I was fine. I can read and I can write. Everything's fine.
Yeah, rich white people have that belief.
Rich people don't send their kids generally to government schools. That's why I call them middle-class welfare babysitting day prisons. I break that down very specifically. It's middle-class welfare because it's money that is taken, collected from everybody, and then distributed to the people that have their kids in school at that time. So that's welfare. That's forced redistribution of wealth. Middle-class welfare, babysitting, because that's the reason for education largely, is so that mom or dad, one of the parents both parents can go work.
And slave away to pay the tax bill to cover the schools.
Right. But, I mean, it's the tax bill. The tax bill is reduced because everybody is taking, everybody's
tax bill
paying.
is not reduced. It's constantly increased.
The tax bill is reduced from, say, a school tuition cost. So in many places,
the tax bill is less than they would have otherwise paid for tuition.
I don't buy it because if we actually
right.
I don't believe it, because we've seen examples of private schools that cost less than what they're spending per pupil on the government schools. And further, we don't have a true free market in education, so presumably if we actually did, then the cost of private education would come down even further as more and more options were created in the marketplace, including things like Sudbury education and other options that haven't yet
I agree with you.
Last time I looked at the numbers, the average spending was per student was
Government
about 12 for private or for public schools was about $12,000 each. The average tuition at private schools, this was many years ago that I looked these numbers up, was $6,000.
Yep.
So it was literally half to go to a private school.
And
I know
get a better
I
education.
went to a private boarding school for less than the Ann Arbor public schools spent per
boarding school.
A boarding school. So I got room and board along with that. Now, that would be great for some of these people who are from unstable families. Because, we know our family is unstable. We can protect our kids from that by sending them to a boarding school. That's not why I went. I went because, I was a little terror. But,
well, they really beat it out of you.
Oh, well, they tried. They beat it in.
So we got more coming up here. A little bit more from this young lady's speech, which we'll play for you here. And if you want to comment, well, sorry, you can't call in here tonight because we're live on location at Forkfest, but we're going to continue in a moment. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com. It's Free Talk Live. We're at Forkfest 2019. It is day number 3, and we're just about halfway through this festival for this year, but there will likely be Forkfest 2020. We just don't yet know what exactly those dates are going to be. Aria DeMezzo joining me and Rich Paul here in the studio. Hey, Aria.
Hey, how are you today?
Good. How was your day number 2?
Oh, it was great.
Tell me about it.
Well, I ended up hanging around a campfire with a bunch of people that I didn't know. There were like 20 of us at one point.
I thought you said you were antisocial.
I am. I mean, that's why I ended up leaving at like midnight to go recharge my batteries, so to speak.
That's pretty good. I went to bed at like 10:30, so you were out later than I was.
I'm on a different schedule than like everyone else, though. So.
Yeah, you do tend to stay up a little bit late, but that's okay around here.
It is.
It's all right, and that's cool that people are able to connect here. It's easy to have a conversation with folks that you don't know. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just walk up to
Everyone's
campsite.
friendly,
Right.
It's not like...
And they probably care about freedom.
Yeah.
Oh,
pretty good chance of that.
Yeah. And you were saying this, Rich, that everybody you've run into here is somebody who cares about liberty. Like, they're here for Forkfest.
Yeah, it's all been liberty people. And, like, I went back to that campfire and sat there till 3 a.m. last night.
Was this the one in the tent site that we were at?
Yeah, the one where you met me. There were a bunch of Heinlein fans there. And so I
there was at least 15, maybe even more than that, people hanging out there.
Did you happen to grab my chair?
No, it's still there.
Probably still there.
Yeah.
That's the nice thing about these events is, like, if you leave something somewhere, odds are good it's going to be right where you left it. Or if it's not right where you left it, it's because the person, like, at the campsite took it in out of the rain or something. Like, it hasn't been stolen. It's probably exactly where you thought it was.
Yeah, I left a quarter pound of weed in somebody's sex dome one time, and I just went back and I was like, did I leave some weed here? And he was like, big ass bag? I was like, yeah. I was like, yeah, I got it.
Last year, there was a quarter pound of weed just sitting here on the broadcast table for quite a while.
Was that me?
I don't know who it was.
Might
It's
have been
amazing how that stuff appears, and you never know.
Yeah.
So we're here. It's Forkfest. You can go to forkfest.party and learn more about the event. We've been we've been sharing the video of the valedictorian at a school in San Ysidro High School in San Diego. She is just blasting the bureaucracy. Her name is Natalie Burr. After saying nice things about a few teachers and, of course, thanking her friends, she then unleashes the truth on the office staff at the high school. Here we go.
Which is not to say it wasn't true when she was praising, but she unleashed some of the truths that people usually don't talk about.
The truth no one was expecting to hear at a graduation speech. Let's continue with it here.
Escalate issues with staff to an assistant principal various times to reach any sort of solution. To the teacher who was regularly intoxicated during class this year, thank you for using yourself as an example to teach students about the dangers of alcoholism. Being escorted by police out of school left a lasting impression.
I really like her passive aggressiveness.
Yeah.
That's right up my alley.
Well, and her ability to find something positive in everything, because...
No, I mean, she's being facetious. I mean, she's being passive aggressive.
She is being facetious, but I think she did learn those things, and it's
I
great
bet she's
that she
drunk
pointed
in
out
2
those...
weeks.
Well, she's not saying she'll never have a drink. She's talking about being an alcoholic and coming to school drunk, coming to your job while 3 sheets to the wind. That's what she's talking about.
Which we do, but we're radio hosts.
I don't
do that.
I don't do that either.
Well, no, but I've seen you get 3 sheets to the wind at work.
But not on the radio.
On after shows.
Yeah, on an after show.
On after
That's
shows.
The same
okay.
Thing. That's where it's encouraged. It's encouraged on the after show. Which, by the way, we aren't doing after shows here because basically once we're done with this, we just hit the rest of the campground and hang out and enjoy the evening.
Forkfest is the after show. You have to be here live for it, though.
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely have to show up live because there are some really great conversations that happen here.
There are.
You only hear them once.
I talked to a guy yesterday who had written a book for an alien, in fact.
He wrote a book for an alien, meaning like channeling an alien into writing it?
We never got into the specifics. But he's essentially a science fiction writer, and he assumed this sort of, I don't know what the word would be, but this sort of persona in order to promote the science fiction book, just alleging that it was written by an alien.
Interesting.
Unless, of course, it was written by an alien, which would...
Well, I'm operating on the assumption that he's not a nutcase.
There was one lady here years ago at the not at Forkfest, but at its predecessor, the Porcupine Freedom Festival, who one year she's passed away since then, but she was in the bathroom, and the other ladies that were going into the bathroom heard her talking to aliens while she was in the bathroom stall.
I mean, they heard her talking.
Yeah, she believed she was talking or going to be abducted or something like that. That she was being visited
by. Was she tripping?
No, she was just pretty crazy apparently.
Well, that happens too.
So you never know who you're going to meet on a campground full of libertarians. But that, like I said, that was many, many years ago. So we're playing.
Sounds like a fun chick, though.
Yeah, we're playing the audio from the high school valedictorian and saying she had a teacher who was intoxicated. And that's not being facetious. I think it's really good to this is life, right? Like you should be learning lessons from the experiences of others. Like that way you don't have to go through what it's like to be an alcoholic to avoid that experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's go on here.
Future students and staff learn from these examples. Thank you, class of 2019.
All right, that's it. That was the sorry, there wasn't really much left, I guess, but there you go.
Well, that was nice to hear that cheer.
Yeah, for sure.
Because, what that tells me is that everything she was saying was true, and it was common knowledge. It
was definitely common knowledge when that whoop went up from the cheer, or whatever you want to call it, from the class when she commented on the drunken teacher. But yet the funny thing about that is, if it's common knowledge among the students like that, for sure the staff was aware. Like, this guy can't hide it, or this gal, or whoever it was, this teacher, so drunk, obviously drunk, if you can't hide it from your students, you're certainly not hiding it from any other staff members that you're encountering.
Well, of course, being a teacher in a public school, I think you'd encounter the students a lot more in close proximity. I mean, how often does a teacher
They're seeing
have to
the staff
go to
every day.
Well, they do see them in the hallway, but they don't have the solid 8 hour
I see what you're saying, but look, dude, if it's so obvious that the students know how S-faced you are,
you would think
it's going to be obvious.
Some of the staff would have known.
Which means that they did nothing about it. Right, so the staff.
I mean, that
was
sounds
aware.
about right for public schools.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, we had one of those teachers at my school.
They're not allowed to do anything about it.
Yeah, you can't stop these people. They, they got tenure. They're locked in, and
I didn't
know
think tenure applied in high schools.
No? That's my understanding. It does.
Some it does not.
My understanding it does because when I was in high school. Mark is whispering to you, and I don't know what he's saying. Union.
It's unions.
Okay, well, whatever you call it. It's if they're there for... I always thought tenure was if you're there for a certain period of time, you're locked in. You can't get fired.
That's true at generally. It's true at the college level, and I believe there are some... there are tenure systems in some high schools, which is not really what they're intended for. They're intended to protect researchers. Okay, that's why they developed tenure, so that researchers could do, once they'd established themselves, whatever research they wanted without fear of getting fired.
Well, I think the unions adopted it, whether they call it tenure or not.
I think in some places they do, like New York City. I think they call it tenure.
Yeah, I don't know if there's another name for it or whatever, but that's what I'm referring to when I talk about it. And they definitely had it, because I remember, and I think a lot of people have had this experience where there's been a lousy teacher, a particularly lousy government school teacher, and the students have tried to talk to their parents, and the parents have tried to talk to the school, and it's like nothing can be done about it. Nothing will be done about it.
Well,
plenty can be done. They just won't do it.
They don't.
Well, to some extent they can't, because what they would have to untangle
they can. They would just have to break some rules to do it.
Well,
they can't break the rules because the union will sue them.
That's not how any of this works.
Well, then you give them the finger and let them sue you. I mean, the alternative is to
they'll lose.
It doesn't matter. The alternative is to let an alcoholic teach your kids.
That's what they're doing, because they'll lose the lawsuit.
Well, there are alternatives.
If you don't run this, well, you're not running the schools.
Stupid in America, which was a John Stossel production for, I believe, Reason TV. He talks about in New York City they have places where they called rubber rooms.
That's right. Yeah.
Where they store teachers that can't teach.
But they pay them.
And they pay them, and they can't fire them, and they can't let them near the students because they're dangerous in some cases. I mean, in some cases, these are people who've been coming on to students. They're
Hold that
pedophiles.
thought, Rich. We'll continue here in moments. We're at Forkfest. It's Free Talk Live, and yes, it is a little chilly out here today at Rogers Campground, but nowhere near what it was on Thursday when it was raining and cold all day long. It's actually been pretty nice today. Sun's been out. It's overcast at the moment, but I'm sitting here in shorts, and it's not bad at all. We've actually, Mark and Ian back in the studio here, our remote studios on the beautiful Rogers Campground, which we've had the pleasure of promoting on the radio here for the last several months as we've been talking about Forkfest, and we've seen a bunch of new faces out here this time, which I'm enjoying as the festival continues to grow into the weekend. Crosby is joining us once again for basically our yearly visit.
Yeah.
That we have here on Free Talk Live. Welcome back, Crosby.
Well, thank you very much. Welcome to all you guys, too. Pleasure to have you.
Crosby, I drove up with my son, in the Civic, right? And we pull in and we park, and I'm just getting ready to get the stuff out of the car to put in the hotel room. I don't camp much, I'm sorry. But I put it in the hotel room. It's nice. That's the nice thing about Rogers is they have both the campground and they have some hotels for those that don't want to rough it quite as much. And I turn around and I'd forgotten for just briefly, I wasn't thinking about it at that moment, and I saw the mountains, and I'm of the opinion that the view from Rogers Campground is one of the best in the world. You can see the White Mountains here, and you probably can tell me which ones I can see. I don't know.
Well, actually, if you look to the south, you see the White Mountains. You look to the east and you see the Presidential Plain, and you look to the west and you see Weeks Mountain. Wow. So you're sort of surrounded all the way around here with mountains.
It's a gorgeous view here at Rogers Campground. There's really nothing like it. And today, when it's much clearer, you can see everything.
Yeah, today's a beautiful... Well, the other day was really kind of nice. Today is...
Yeah, yesterday was fine.
Yeah.
It was a good day.
Yeah, we've had a tough spring because of this weather. But everybody's had the same problem, so it's nothing unknown or anything.
Well, the park's not dead by any means. I mean, there are a lot of people. As far as I don't know how many of them are here for Forkfest, but there are a number of RVs and such that are parked out sort of.
They keep pulling in too.
Yeah,
for sure.
The number of these are here just for this occasion.
Yeah, good. I'm glad to hear that.
There's about 75 seasonals here.
Okay,
but there's 325 sites, so.
All right. There's plenty.
We still got a lot to cover.
Yeah, absolutely. Plenty of room. Well, the nice thing about this event is it's sort of growing naturally. People are hearing about it. They're liking what they're hearing because they like the fact that it kind of goes back to the old way that the Porcupine Freedom Festival used to be, where there wasn't a whole lot of central organization going on, where it was more just liberty-minded folks coming to Rogers Campground and hanging out in the woods for a week. And that's mostly what's going on here. There's a couple of cool-looking tents that are being built. Have you seen the dome down there?
I looked at the dome because the dome's halfway across the road.
Yeah,
not anymore. We got it moved.
You got to move. Yeah, it was in a bad spot there for a little while. I thought somebody coming out in the middle of the night's going to run right through it.
There's my son running from the pool, having a great time. How big is that pool? It's huge.
Actually, I don't know for sure, but I know what the size is. But I was told by the pool guy when he came to do it that we have the largest pool in the northern part of the state.
Wow.
So It's got to be 40 by 80.
That's a big pool.
That's a big pool.
And families having a great time going around and partying and having fun. The kids are having a blast and running around with Nerf guns and playing in the pool.
If you can't get up here for Forkfest, obviously if you're already in New England, you should come up here this weekend because we're here and we're going to be here through Monday. Of course, there's going to be 2020, but then next the Porcupine Freedom Festival starts on Tuesday. So Forkfest this year is leading into the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which is one of the biggest weeks of the year here. But I've heard that the 4th of July, Independence Day, is actually a really big day here at Rogers. What goes on there?
We put on a demonstration of fireworks. It takes approximately about an hour and 15 minutes.
The actual shooting of the fireworks? Shooting. That's a long show.
People actually get disgusted listening to it because
it's too much.
It's so loud and for so long.
Yeah, get some earplugs.
And the fellow who shoots them all off comes in and
he's got to be a pro.
He has. Oh yeah. Yeah. He has more fun than we do, actually.
That's why those guys get into that business, because they love blowing things up.
He brings his friends in, too, that from Massachusetts and Connecticut and everything like that. And every so often they'll invent their own fireworks.
Really?
And put them together during the winter. And about 3 years ago, we had a guy come in. I think he came in from Connecticut. And he had like 8 big pinwheels, big ones. They were 10, 12 feet in the air.
Wow.
And they were
loaded with
fireworks. Yeah, absolutely beautiful. It was really fun to see that.
That's cool. How many years has that been going on up here?
Oh, long before I bought it. This is my 21st year.
Wow. So this is a tradition. This is a big-time tradition.
Oh, yeah.
Now, how is this a ticketed event? How does it work if you're going to come to Rogers Campground for the July 4th?
Well, actually, you can come and stay.
Mm-hmm.
And then
just anybody who's staying on the campground.
Anybody in the campground, they get to enjoy it and
That's
stuff
cool.
like that. And because this year we got the new miniature golf that we built again, rebuilt the whole thing, and it's totally brand new.
Every year, Rogers seems to do at
something
least
new.
one thing new to make yourself special, because you are the largest and really most iconic campground in sort of the northern New England area. And, I mean, you can't say that, but I can say it because I
like to feel it.
But, I mean, you are the biggest. You can say that, right?
Yeah,
That's true.
we are.
That is an objective statement. And because of that, I think many people have been coming here for many, many years, and every year it seems to get a little bit better.
We probably have what I think is a 60% return every year, or over the year, shall we say. They may come this year, they may skip a couple years,
They'll
and then
be
come back again.
They'll be back, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and we've had guys come back as late as 30 years.
Wow.
He comes back and he remembered coming here as a child or something like that.
Yeah, it's unforgettable. How could you forget
And he brings his grandchildren. We lose a whole generation,
right?
Some of them.
Incredible. It's really an incredible event, and thanks for letting us have Forkfest here. I hope we can grow it into something that's as big as Porkfest.
You couldn't stop Forkfest from happening here because there's nobody who's in charge of this thing. It's just a bunch of freedom lovers who decided the only thing that really happens is a bunch of people say, yeah, it should probably happen around this time, and the people, decide to go. If somebody wanted to have Forkfest before and after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, they could, right? Like, nobody would be able to stop them. In fact, there actually has been talk next year about, like, from some of the old-timers here about moving Forkfest after the Porcupine Freedom Festival. So, we may see that happen in 2020. And then we'll see that way we'll be able to encourage more of the Porkfest people to stay in longer. So like this year, we're going to be somebody bought a sponsorship for Forkfest at Porkfest. So yeah. Forkfest, just an individual just bought this sponsorship. So the VIP tent at Porkfest is going to be sponsored by Forkfest, and there's going to be giveaways in every bag for promoting Forkfest at the Porcupine Freedom Festival. So there's going to be probably, I don't know, would they get 1,000 people at Porkfest? I'm not sure what they are.
Well, I'll tell you what,
days.
this year you guys have increased quite a bit.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
I mean,
because you're the only one who gets any numbers. You're the one who looks at the sales.
I noticed the people coming in.
Yeah.
And, I begin to see familiar faces always and stuff like that.
And we've seen new faces this year.
Yeah. So I think, and a lot of people are staying the whole 2 weeks.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
To get people to stay on
the whole 2 weeks.
Why not? I mean, it's one of the most beautiful places I've ever been in my life.
If you're going to come up, what's another 5 days? What's another 7?
Make the trip worthwhile.
And the time flies here, too. I mean, we don't have time to do anything except barely fit this show in, and we're talking to people the whole time.
Let me ask you this, Crosby, because for me, coming to Rogers Campground is this time vortex, right?
Yeah.
Like everything speeds up and slows down in this weird way where, nothing makes any sense.
Sure, that's not the psychedelics?
Well, I'm not taking psychedelics. You and your friends. I mean, Crosby, on the other hand.
I don't know about that.
Is it like that for you, Crosby, or is it day in, day out drudgery work?
No, it's not drudgery. To tell you the truth, our attitude is we've never had any problems. So therefore, we stay the heck out of everything. And we let it happen, and when it happens, if we get into trouble, then we address it, and that's it.
Yep.
But other than that, we basically have the same attitude as the people.
That's the New Hampshire way.
We enjoy freedom, too, and, and stuff like that, so it's good. I mean, we don't try and get in anybody's way and keep everybody happy if we can, and love to have everybody come back who's listening, who maybe is sitting at home, got nothing to do. Come on up.
That's one thing about northern New Hampshire. One thing that's special about northern New Hampshire is the ability to open carry a firearm, and lots of people do that up in these areas. I think that when people come from Connecticut or Massachusetts or even outside the country, they're very surprised to see these sorts of things. What, as a business in the North Country, how does that affect you?
It doesn't affect us at all, to tell you the truth.
It keeps the place more safe if there's people with guns here. What are you talking about?
I mean, I got a permit to carry anyway, so it doesn't make any difference.
Nice thing in New Hampshire is you don't even need that anymore. They got rid of the. You can still get it if you want the permit, because you might be going to Connecticut or something like that. But you can just carry a gun here as long as you're not a felon, and hopefully we'll change that someday, make it so anybody can carry a gun if they've served their time. They're safe.
Well, we'll see how all that goes. But
hey, we're almost out of time for this hour of Free Talk Live. Crosby, as always, thanks for joining us here.
Thank you very much, and you're welcome back anytime.
We'll be back.
What's the website?
RogersCampground.com.
Would you like to hang out with Penn Jillette? He's keynoting Freedom Fest this year. I, for one, am thrilled. Freedom Fest is the largest liberty-oriented gathering in the world. They take a Big Ten approach with libertarians, conservatives, liberals, anarchists, capitalists, and just open-minded people mingling together to hear real debates, share real solutions, and converse freely. This year's theme is the Wild West, a time of liberty and opportunity, or a time of anarchy and violence. Maybe both. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and get your tickets now. freedomfest.com/FTL. Not convinced yet? Hey, I understand. It's a high-end event. Even with coupon code FTL50. Sure, you're likely to receive investment advice that'll make that sum seem paltry, but I have something special for you. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and you'll get the 5 best speeches from last year for free. Call it a test drive. Do yourself a favor and go to freedomfest.com/FTL. freedomfest.com/FTL. Use coupon code FTL50 for a discount.
It's Free Talk Live. We're here at Forkfest 2019. You can go to forkfest.party and learn more about the event that we're broadcasting from. And this is day number 3 of 5, so we still got more to do. Stick with us throughout the weekend, all the way through Monday, and we'll finally wrap that up Monday night and be back into Keene, New Hampshire, beautiful Keene, where we will continue doing live shows as of Tuesday evening. All kinds of folks rolling in here. It's definitely a high volume of people coming into the park here today. I think tonight's going to be a pretty good night here at Forkfest.
And if you're coming in, we're right at the center of the decentralized festival here at Free Talk Live. Come by and see us.
So it's Ian and Rich Paul here in our remote studio. And as I mentioned earlier, we are recording these shows, so we're not live. You can't call in, but that's okay. We got all kinds of interesting people here on the campground to talk to, including a longtime Porkfest festival guest of ours. Hunter is with us here, although Alex Hunter is the name on the book that you've just written. Welcome back, Hunter.
Thank you.
Yeah, make sure you get real close to that mic for me.
Okay. Thanks,
and
Ian.
drag it closer to you if you need to. That's totally fine. You can just drag the whole thing right up close. And so we used to have you on talking about like driving techniques and things like that. You're an expert driver.
Yeah, I still coach and ride on master driving skills.
But you've gone into a completely different area of writing now, and I'm holding your new book in front of me. I see that it was actually co-written by former co-host of ours, Daryl Perry, who's moved on to a different life. He's retired from radio, and he's now a professional, one of those guys that does your training in the gym. He's like a professional gym personal trainer. There you go, one of those guys, which is pretty cool. But he's still apparently in the authoring business. You might be a free stater if. What is this book, Hunter? Tell me about it.
Well, it was inspired by a state rep who did a hit piece against free staters, and he listed 7 or 8 you might be a free stater if on how people can identify him. You know, if you voted for Ron Paul, you might be a free stater.
Right.
You know, if you moved to New Hampshire for liberty, you might be a free stater.
How's that a hit piece?
Yeah, exactly.
It's true.
Exactly, right? And so it came up with the idea of let's come together with a bunch of one-liners, you know, a coffee table book where, you know, it can not only be educational, but allow for discussion around different topics. So we broke it down into, you know, Bill of Rights, education, police, some just for fun.
There's some good old photos in here, too. There's Derek J. Freeman, our co-host Derek J. Freeman from AnyPay.Global, with him getting arrested during Derek's victimless crime spree.
Nice.
So some classic pictures in here.
Yeah, color photos, too.
Yeah, they are in color, which is I didn't expect to see that at all. That's
and
very
it's
cool.
a numbered print. If you look up at the beginning, there's 1 to 500 numbered.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah. And
so when did you start to tell me the story behind this?
Well, it started 3 or 4 years ago.
But did it just get published just like recently?
I got it printed a little over a year ago.
Okay.
And I brought it out briefly last year at Forkfest.
Right
But
on.
if you look at the back, you can see the 10 organizations that are mentioned in the book, Free Talk Live being one of them.
Thank you.
Nice.
And, as well as the 30 or so people who volunteered, you know, the one-liners in the book.
Right on.
You didn't get a picture of the 420 rally in there, did you?
I think there might be something in there.
Nice.
Definitely some references to
There's
it,
definitely some chalking. I see the photo
Chalk
of one
the
of the Keene police officers joining us on Chalk the Police Day or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Nice.
Some fun stuff here. Great stuff, and I'm looking forward to looking through this because you know what, I love freedom, and it's great to see new media coming out of the Free State Project. I mean, classically we've seen radio shows, we've seen television shows, sort of live format medias, but I don't know. Has anybody written a book before about Free State? You know,
not that I know of. No,
there's been documentaries, which kind of is similar, but this is different.
And something that could be like a centerpiece where people can pick it up and read it and then
and start
actually
a
have
conversation.
A coffee table book.
And it's fine if people disagree with, you know, with whatever ones I put in there, which all of them are 100% Hunter approved, you know. And I spent a lot of time on it, really, and I hope that people really get a lot of education out of it and a lot of discussion that will help, you know, evolve the, you know, liberty movement.
How is it available? Or what are the means that somebody could purchase this?
It is on Amazon.
Really?
Yeah.
Are they the publisher as well? Are they the ones who are doing the printing?
I got it printed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then you send them a box to their warehouse and then they ship them out?
Fulfillment department? No. I'd just get the order and I would send it out.
Oh, so you're doing the shipping yourself?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Doing it all. Right on. Very cool. So if you want to get a copy of this, it's You Might Be a Free Stater If, and it's by Alex Hunter and Daryl W. Perry. What's the cost if you were to go to Amazon and pick one of these up?
From number 100 to 500, they're $20 a piece. And 50 to 100, $5 more. And then below that, 1 to 50, increments of $5.
Oh, okay.
Because it is a collector's item.
Yeah.
It's a first print, colored photos, numbered copies, and
Let's talk about the cover because you can judge a book by its cover. And this is a pretty memorable cover for those of us who've been around this movement for a long time. There's a church on the cover of this book, and it is the church that sadly had a fire a few years ago in Grafton, New Hampshire.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell the story? Do you know about it?
A lot of other people know a lot more of the story than I, but a good friend of ours, John Connell, was in the basement, I believe, when a fire started.
The preacher of the church.
Yes.
Yeah.
The founder.
Yeah.
the Peaceful Assembly Church was the name of it. So if you search for Peaceful Assembly and John Connell, Connell, you'll find a story. I wrote one up at freekeen.com after the tragedy. He was allegedly sleeping. Something happened. I don't think anybody still knows exactly how this fire got started.
Some of us have ideas, but we don't have any proof.
Yeah, there are theories, but there's no hard evidence on this, and he sadly died. He did have a very wonderful life, though. I mean, it was...
Oh, yeah, he was a wonderful man.
Yeah.
He was a big inspiration for me, in the founding of the Shire Free Church. We absolutely cited the Peaceful Assembly Church as a huge inspiration. He was a true peace activist, somebody who really did believe in the act of forgiveness, and somebody who practiced the act of forgiveness, which is such an important thing to have a grasp on. And I know, Arya, if you were on the show tonight, you would totally agree with this. I've heard Arya talking about forgiveness on Call to Freedom. It's one of the most important things that you can do for yourself is to forgive somebody else who has, trespassed against you.
Yeah, and that's especially important as we move a tribe of libertarians together. Libertarians tend to be a little bit unforgiving. They have high expectations of other people, and I think it is an important thing for us to learn as a community that people grow and change over time, and they go through good times and hard times, and sometimes in the hard times they get unreliable. That kind of thing can happen, and then you get better.
And without an opportunity to try again, then that person's shut out from those opportunities to grow and to prove that they've become better.
Exactly. You have to have the opportunities to do things, or what are you going to do?
Now, that's not to say that you should allow somebody to, stomp all over you. That's not to say that just because you've forgiven someone that you have to trust them again with, $1,000 or running a business or something like that.
And that's always been one of my skills, is finding marginal people who I think can be better and giving them a level of trust where I'm not toast if they screw me, and letting them build up trust with me, but at the same time managing the economics of the relationship. So generally, the rule of thumb, I never put somebody in a position of taking back more than half of the profit that I've made from them. And so there are things that you can do to work with people. Yeah,
and you can definitely forgive somebody without ever trusting them again.
That's true, because forgiveness is about you and letting go of whatever burden that you've created through the you got a spider on your shoulder right there, just an FYI. I don't know if you care, but there it goes. Because if you've created some sort of grudge, that's your problem. And you can get rid of that in a moment as soon as you forgive that person for whatever it was that they did to you. It's relieving the burden from yourself. Whether or not you want to trust that person again is a whole other question. If they can prove their trustworthiness, if you're willing to let them, that's another story.
Exactly. And if somebody's already beaten me, then I'm generally going to let them build trust by watching what they do for somebody else for a while. Let somebody else take the risk.
Check out the book, You Might Be a Free Stater If, by Alex Hunter and Daryl W. Perry. Thank you for coming on Free Talk Live. We got more Free Talk Live. Welcome to Free Talk Live. You can join us here in real life if you come up to Rogers Campground. There's still time. There's still 2 whole days to go. So if you're in New England, get in the car and get on up to Lancaster, New Hampshire. It's a little bit of a hike, but it's worth it. The beauty of this place. We were talking with the owner, Crosby, in the last hour of the program. Just an incredibly beautiful place. Any time of the year during the summer or spring that you want to come up and visit, you should, because it's a nice place to be. But, of course, it's best if you're here during Forkfest. That's when we're here, and that's when there's a whole bunch of liberty-minded folks coming in here, and they're just pouring through the gate almost at this point. It seems like one car every few minutes coming in here, or RV, or a camper, or whatever.
Some vehicle.
Yeah, and much higher rate of people coming in than there was yesterday. So it's, typical. The first day is real slow, just the first few folks trickling in. And then yesterday things got a little busier as the evening came on. People were getting off for work, and now, of course, everybody's off, and even the folks who've come from a long distance are showing up today. So, again, this thing's just going to get bigger today and tomorrow, and it'll culminate Monday with the return of the Big Gay Dance Party, which I think has been renamed to the Somalian big gay road builders crew or something like that. And I've heard a rumor that you're going to need to have a Bitcoin Cash wallet in order to get in to the dance party on Monday. So that's, or what? You have to be dressed fabulously. So one or the other. If you're going to be dressing normal, like, you got to have a Bitcoin Cash wallet or be dressed fabulously.
I just wanted to tell you about American financing. So rates are low right now. If you're looking to buy a house, now's a great time. And maybe you have plenty of money that saved, or maybe you get a pretty good monthly paycheck. Whatever it is, American financing can help you. They can help you get into a home for as little as a $0 down payment. That's a pretty nice offer if you can, if you just give them a call. I mean, that is really the best way to do it. As a matter of fact, they also have the digital mortgage where you can apply and receive your pre-qualification and close your loan doing everything online. You got to check them out. It's AmericanFinancing.net. AmericanFinancing.net. What I like best about them is there's no mortgage brokers. Their mortgage brokers are salaried. There are mortgage brokers. They're salaried. So they're not getting a commission in the same way that the vast majority of them are, trying to put together the loan that's right for them, not the loan that's right for you. AmericanFinancing.net, NMLS number 182334. I have to get the website, too. It's NMLSconsumeraccess.org. And their telephone number is 888-804-0303. 888-804-0303, AmericanFinancing.net.
So, some important news update in the case regarding Julian Assange, the WikiLeaks founder who has been in a jail cell for the last several months as he's been awaiting extradition, possibly to the United States, for some basically non-crimes that they're trying to put him away in prison for I don't know how long at this point. They've hit him with, almost 2 dozen charges?
He is now liable for the death penalty, I think. They could...
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think the Espionage Act allows the death penalty.
Well, they who knows how this is going to go. Right now, Bloomberg has an update on the case. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange told a London court that his life was, quote, effectively at stake as he battled being sent to the U.S. to face charges that he endangered national security. Appearing via a video link from the high-security Belmarsh prison in the UK, Assange said observers, quote, should not fall into believing that WikiLeaks is anything but a publisher. Because he didn't steal the information. He got information from people like Chelsea Manning, and then he did the job that the press is supposed to do and shine the light on the activities of world governments, specifically in this case the U.S. government.
One of the allegations is that he helped Chelsea Manning in some manner procure this information. And
that
I don't
was
know
the first charge they hit him with.
Yeah,
they since have hit him
attempted to
with
crack
even more.
a password.
Right, and I'm not sure what publishers have done historically to help sources get information and that sort of thing. But if the leak that Chelsea Manning had was so terrible, I mean, why hasn't the United States' foreign policy just fallen apart? I mean, because everything that happened.
Yep.
Why haven't we seen anything terrible?
Years.
Most people said that this was basically inconsequential. But this guy's got to suffer and suffer and suffer. Why? Because the United States government has gotten progressively more tyrannical when it comes to the amount of information they consider secret. And I think that it's really important for the average person to understand that you can't have a functioning democracy and a large amount of state secrets. Like, those two things simply don't go together.
And you also can't have tyranny and the truth living together. And that's why they're treating this as treason, because truth is treason in an empire of lies, Ron Paul.
Well, and the fact that if I'm supposed to be the government, that's what we're told in civics class. You're the government. It says right here, we the people, right? So that's the crap that we teach our kids.
If we were the government, we'd drop the charges because this is BS.
Right. So I'm not the government, but if I were the government and when I go to vote, I need to have the information in order to be able to determine who my servants are who are going to go in particular positions. Because some servants may be abusing their power and some may not, or more so than the others. They're all abusing their power, but some abuse them more so than others. And then who am I going to pick? Well, I don't know because it's all secret.
Nietzsche wrote that government is the coldest of all cold monsters. Everything that it says is a lie, and everything that it has is stolen. Coldly it lies and says, "We are the people."
Mm-hmm. And some people believe it because they're just not paying attention. The court appearance...
They're trained not to pay attention.
That's right.
By the public schools.
By the government schools. I think it's important to call them what they are. Because, we could have a public school that was open to anybody who wants to pay the fee or can get a scholarship or whatever.
Or just open it to the public and let anybody come.
Open to the public. But the government schools are the ones that are funded through confiscatory taxation, which is the threat of violence against stealing your home, for instance, if you don't want to pay for their awful schools, which we did discuss how bad those are earlier. But Assange's court appearance comes after Home Secretary Sajid Javid signed an order that lets an American bid to extradite Assange formally proceed. Assange, in a gray shirt and wearing glasses, spoke at the end of the hearing to ask for details of the American indictment, which he has yet to see. So the UK government is operating on extraditing him, and they haven't even shown him the paperwork. He doesn't even know what it is that he's facing.
Right, and this is the sort of thing that the founders of the United States had a revolution over, right? Like, you see these Cubans and...
Transported overseas to be tried for pretended offenses, I believe, is the line from the Declaration.
It is. You're absolutely right. Excellent job. But, many of these places like North Korea and Cuba, they continue to call whatever they had that brought their government into power the revolution. But we in the United States are supposedly still living in the revolution, right? These guys created this document, the foundational document being the Constitution, but certainly the rhetorical document being the Declaration.
Interestingly, that's also what the North Koreans and the Russians said, as they referred to the government as the revolution.
Right.
Because psychologically it's hard to revolt against the revolution, isn't it?
And it just keeps on going in Cuba. Apparently the revolution's still happening.
Yeah.
And in this case, here it is. This beacon of truth and liberty is trying to extradite somebody without even showing them the papers.
Yep.
This is what passes for justice these days, ladies and gentlemen. And it's really important. Look, you may not like Julian Assange. I understand if you don't like Julian Assange, but you need to make sure that your government obeys its own laws.
You won't be able to make sure of that because they do whatever they want. There's more coming up here in a moment.
Are you concerned that liberty, free market economics, and the values that made America great are no longer taught in schools? Well, so am I. So I got my son the Tuttle Twins children's book series.
My name is Jack, and I'm 11 years old, and I just started the Tuttle Twins. So far, I have learned that some people can use the government to ruin the economy and destroy people's businesses.
Give all the young people in your life a chance at reason and clear thought, because they're not going to get it at school. There are 9 books in the series, and each one teaches a set of ideas that children aren't getting elsewhere. Go to TuttleTwins.com and use coupon code FTL to get 40% off. Again, that's TuttleTwins.com.
It's Free Talk Live. We're at Forkfest 2019. It is another portion of the long history of libertarian camping festivals here at Rogers Campground. I think, Mark, you and I, we've been coming here for a decade now. It was 2009, because if you recall, when we first moved here as part of the Free State Project back in 2006, we didn't go to anything in that year, and we went to the next year's Porkfest, the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which was at a different campground for 2 years. We were at that other campground for 2 years. So the first time we came here was in 2009. The Porcupine Freedom Festival actually was originally formed at Rogers Campground, and then it went away for a couple of years. And then it came back in 2009, and it has been here ever since. In fact, Roger Paxton and Jessica Paxton have just arrived. They are the organizers of this year's Porcupine Freedom Festival, and I'm sure we'll have Roger on probably tomorrow's show, would be my guess, to kind of catch up and see what they've been up to. He's also the host of the Lava Flow podcast, great talk show host, and it's always nice to see them. I think they are in year number 16 or 17. It depends on how you count, because there was like Porkfest Year 0, which was called something else. He'll know if we ask him what it was.
It was like Escape to
New Hampshire. Yeah, I think that's what it was.
And Night on the Barricades or something.
So this event has a long history going back, and it's got a long history of people selling things on the campground, like My Magic Mud.
Absolutely right. This is where I found My Magic Mud. Was right here
years ago.
Yeah, years and years ago. Jessica Armand, who is the mom who created My Magic Mud, she was here hawking her brand new product, and her product is, I mean, it sounds weird. It's charcoalized coconut shell husks.
It's black.
And
black tooth
bentonite
powder.
Clay, and it's black, right? It's this dry powder that you get on your toothbrush. You get a little wet, and then you scrub your teeth with it, just like you're brushing your teeth normally, and it's clinically proven to whiten teeth. And you can see, after one brushing, the difference if you have any kind of stains in your teeth like I do. I mean, I drink quite a bit of coffee, and I could tell right away. By 4 brushings, so once every day for 4 days, you should have your teeth should be white as anybody else's, as white as they're supposed to be. And then you use it every 4 days to a week after that, and you're going to have great-looking teeth. I believe strongly, because I use it every day and have for many years, use it every week, have for many years, and I think it's a great product.
You don't have to use this every day.
No,
is what you're saying.
You shouldn't use it every day. I don't think.
Okay.
In my opinion, it's not worth using. You shouldn't be doing it every day, but you should use it every week. I believe it cleans my teeth more than regular toothpaste does, and it's totally worth getting. You can get it at any most major health food stores, Sprouts, CVS, Natural Grocers, Walmart's Natural Beauty Aisle. But if you go to mymagicmud.com and use coupon code FTL20, you can get it at 20% off, and that's a great
no-brainer.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity. mymagicmud.com, coupon code FTL20. I highly recommend it. mymagicmud.com, coupon code FTL20.
Do they take crypto?
I
Good
know they
question.
did. I don't know. I'd have to go look.
Okay.
So we are back on this story here. Just a quick one about the latest with Julian Assange. He has made a statement in a video-linked hearing from Belmarsh Prison where he was informed that there are, of course, he already knows there's charges being pending against him, but he has yet to actually read the indictment against him from the U.S. government.
And Belmarsh Prison, isn't that where they were keeping the IRA guys?
Probably.
I mean, that's like super
high security. Yeah, it's a high security prison, according to the story at Bloomberg, as reported at yahoo.com. And according to the story here, Homeland Secretary Sajid Javid in the UK has signed an order that lets the American bid formally proceed. So whatever, apparently they could have not signed this order, and then that would have prevented any sort of proceedings. But the extradition proceedings begin. The U.S. has charged Julian Assange, who, if you don't know, he's the founder of WikiLeaks, with 18 counts related to endangering national security by conspiring to obtain and disclose classified information. He has been accused of
conspiring to tell the truth.
Right. That's what we're talking about here. Working with U.S. Army intelligence officer Chelsea Manning to get classified documents from databases containing about 90,000 Afghanistan war-related activity reports, 400,000 Iraq war-related reports, and 250,000 State Department cables. And if you recall, Donald Trump even made positive statements about WikiLeaks during his campaign.
Yeah, well, he was telling the truth about his opponent, a horrible woman, Hillary Clinton.
Right. And he hasn't done anything differently since then. In fact, he hasn't really had the chance to do anything since then, since he's been in, until recently, the Ecuadorian embassy under relatively stringent conditions. Like, at one point, I think they took away his internet access from him, and that was about a year prior to
it was cut off by the British, I think.
Well, I think it was actually a decision by the Ecuadorian embassy, as I understand it. Yeah, because he was still doing his thing from inside the Ecuadorian embassy, including calling out Ecuadorian government officials for their corruption.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes it's good not to bite the hand that feeds you, even though, I mean, the problem is if you give too complete information, there's going to be no safe place to go to give it from.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
But you can't blame somebody, for doing what that's their nature, right? Like, that's Julian Assange.
You can't blame them, but at the same time, I don't expect to hear from Snowden about the bad things that Putin is doing,
right.
and I don't hold it against him that I don't
neither.
expect to hear those things from him. I just keep in mind whenever I hear somebody's statements, I say, well, whose control are they under and how much control?
Yeah, no, I do agree with you. I don't think there's anything wrong with Edward Snowden just keeping his mouth shut. He's done his task. He's done amazing work, and he should be able to live as comfortably as he wants to. I mean, it would be no. I harbor no ill will toward Edward Snowden for not doing anything else for the rest of his life besides trying to enjoy Russia. And I heard that his girlfriend did move there with him at some point.
Yeah, so that's good. They're a cute couple.
Yeah, so that's good news. But and by the way, Assange did have Pamela Anderson visiting him while he was in the Ecuadorian embassy.
Well, that sounds like it would be some solace.
A lot of people, would appreciate that, I imagine.
I'd enjoy it.
But now, unfortunately, he's looking at maybe, I don't know, life in prison. It's hard to say what he, may be sentenced to if he's extradited.
I'm pretty sure that Ethel and Julian Rosenberg were sentenced to death for espionage.
Is that right?
So, and I've heard some of the commentators talking about death. The thing is, they're not going to be talking about it very much because England normally won't extradite somebody who faces the death penalty, and I think that's why we're not seeing this is the worst he could face on this charge, because they don't want to acknowledge that until he's out of England.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure what these charges are. It just says they're related to endangering national security.
Well, I know they hit him with 17 counts of espionage.
Was it espionage specifically?
Yes.
Assange was arrested in April at the Ecuadorian embassy after taking refuge in 2012 there. He's currently serving a 50-week sentence, so they put him in jail for a year for skipping bail, basically missing court, and has been receiving medical treatment, which we saw in recent weeks. He was looking very gaunt, very pallid, very sick.
He looks like a hobo.
Yeah, he'd been, and sources close to him were saying that he was being drugged or poisoned. Yes.
Assange,
and I guess if you're taking a drug against your will, you're being poisoned.
Assange's lawyer said, quote, "This case is an outrageous and full frontal assault on journalistic rights and free speech." Swedish prosecutors, by the way, have apparently reopened the investigation into rape allegations against Assange, which he denies. So they're coming at him from every possible angle here.
Yeah, and these rape allegations are absolutely ridiculous. He has text message logs where she's commenting to her friend, "Julian didn't want to use a condom last night." Mm-hmm. Now, that's hardly the headline if you just got raped.
That's not how that goes.
A rapist does not ask that question.
Yeah.
Well, this is out of Sweden. In Sweden, they have different rules. So, for instance, the tried and true, "Hey, lady, I'm an astronaut. Wanna do it?" or whatever. That would be considered rape under the Swedish law because you're misrepresenting what it is.
Oh, so does that mean that under Swedish law that I'm sorry, I'm spacing on his name, the guy who founded Defense Distributed, Cody Wilson, that he was actually raped by the teenage girl who lied to him about her age?
Yes.
All right, more coming up here. This is Free Talk Live from Forkfest. It's Free Talk Live. We are at Forkfest 2019, wrapping out this third day of broadcasting from this wonderful event. It's the sun is out here in the middle of the afternoon at Rogers Campground. And by the way, I want to say thank you to Ryan Johnson, who is a Free Talk Live Silver amplifier, meaning he gives $5 a month to the AMP program. AMP stands for Advertise, Market, and Promote. It's a way for you to get behind what we do here. If you like the fact that we're talking about the ideas of freedom on over 200 radio stations from coast to coast and beyond here in the United States. And do you want us to be on 300 stations? You can help us with that, and you will get some cool perks, some cool benefits being an amplifier over at amp.freetalklive.com. So please do what Ryan did there and join the AMP program. It's PayPal, credit card, or Bitcoin BTC. It's up to you how you join, but we sure do appreciate the couple hundred, almost 200 folks who are backing us up with the AMP program. If you want to join to be one of them, please go to amp.freetalklive.com.
And if you want to help keep the hosts in pizza and beer, there's always tips.freetalklive.com.
That's I guess that would work. We need to get back to doing some after shows when we finally get settled back into Keene, because it's been a few weeks since there's been all this traveling going on here.
Want to tell you about Liberty Stickers. Liberty Stickers has helped keep us going here on Free Talk Live, too. They're
for years. In fact, we've got brand new LRN.FM bumper stickers from the folks over at Liberty Stickers.
Right. They can make custom stickers, certainly, and it's a great place to check out if that's what you need. But they also have a whole bunch of liberty-oriented messages in the form of bumper stickers. You know people love to read them. You've, I'm sure, crept a little closer to the car in front of you.
I've seen it happen.
Yeah, just to read the bumper sticker. It's Liberty Stickers.
People craning their necks.
Yep,
looking up over the
read it.
Old ladies looking up over the steering wheel.
Gotta read it, whatever
Where's
it says. LibertyStickers.com.
Yeah, good products, and that's why we use them here. If you want to get a free sample of their quality, just go to promote.freetalklive.com. and send a self-addressed stamped envelope to the address you'll see there, and we will pop a Free Talk Live sticker in there for you, and you can do whatever you want with it. Preferably, you'll put it on the back of your car, but we can't tell you what to do.
Well, I've got them on my laptop, usually.
I do, too.
Yeah.
And also, the same thing's true on the LRN.FM website. I think it's promote.lrn.fm. You can also get, if you put both Free Talk Live and LRN on the envelope, then I'll know that you want one of each, and I'll send them to you.
Nice.
So let's see here. We are at Forkfest, and it is a wonderful event. As I was saying, the weather today turned out to be pretty nice. It was a little overcast earlier today, but not too cold. And right now, nice and warm. I'm out here in a T-shirt and shorts. And according to somebody, they said tomorrow might be even nicer. I'm not sure, but you never know up here. You really never know.
I really don't know whether the weather in New England is just better, because people come to New England for the weather during the summer. Labor Day, from Memorial Day to Labor Day, that's the big time to be in New England, especially northern New England. I don't know whether it's the weather's so good, or that we, the people who are of New England, are just so so beaten up by the weather
in the
other
wintertime,
9 months out of the year that it's like, God, this is glorious. I have no idea.
Well, you keep saying New England. It's way worse in northern New Hampshire than anywhere else. I mean, it is cold up here, even compared to where we live in Keene in southern New Hampshire.
Yeah. Well, that's true, but it's warm compared to parts of Maine.
Yeah, that's
Maine
probably
goes
true
a lot
farther
norther. It's all about latitudes and attitudes.
Indeed.
So it's a beautiful campground, a wonderful group of people. It's getting larger here. It's getting more cluttered as I'm looking out among the campsites with cars and RVs and such. I haven't checked on the dome. I know they've been working on it for 2 days.
I can see it from here. They've got the parachute on it. It is up and solid.
You could ask me. I'm the one who basically.
Well, yeah, I was about to ask you. Although I'm obviously interested in hearing Stephen and Derek J tell their side of this dome adventure that you guys had yesterday. Where when I went down there toward the end of the day, this is a massive 30-foot diameter dome.
Put together like PVC pipes and these special connectors.
Thick PVC pipes. Rich, you were talking about you've helped with some of the hippie domes at hemp fests and such, and that this is unusually thick PVC. It doesn't.
Well, they used like 1 1/4 PVC, and we used either 3/4 inch PVC or maybe even 1/2 inch. I think it was 3/4 inch that we used, about the size, a little bigger than what they make the hula hoops out of. So yeah, this is definitely a firmer.
What is 3/4 inch on PVC?
The diameter.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is a massive structure. It basically takes up an entire camping site. And
takes it up fully, not like
maybe
a tent
2
takes up its site.
They may actually have 2 sites that they've
No, they've got one fully filled.
Okay.
They might be parking on another one. But,
I think so.
But
I think so.
The whole dome is on one site, but barely.
So this is a massive structure, and the folks over at AnyPay.Global, Derek and Stephen, are planning on throwing parties there each night. Which at this point, I think they originally thought they were going to throw one on Friday, but it turned out that they was working on building that dome all day.
It was the party of building the dome,
which at one point involved actually a pyramid of picnic tables.
That's correct.
Did anyone get a photograph of this? Because by the time I thought of it, it was too late. You got one?
I didn't get one. Everybody else did. I was on the picnic table.
Can you get me one of those photographs?
Talk to Derek J. He's got them all.
Okay, good. Because I walked down there afterwards and saw this.
You haven't even said the end of it, right? So this is a pyramid of picnic tables going up. I think it's 6 picnic tables into a pyramid,
6
right?
high or 6 total? So you're talking about 3 layers?
Plus a stepladder on top of the
We actually,
right.
and a stepladder on top. So I'm at the top holding the stepladder for Stephen, who's then 6'4", who's at the top of that, so he could get the very last of it done.
Now, kids, if you try this at home or you don't have ladders, please build the top of the dome first and then lift it up, because that way you're always working on the ground and it's much easier.
But the interesting thing is I saw the instructions when we were there working with them on the first night on, Friday night, Thursday night? I don't even know. It must have been Thursday night, late Thursday when they arrived. The instructions say that you're supposed to build it from the bottom up.
Technical writers are invariable followers of the Marquis de Sade.
Meaning they like to be sadistic?
They are sadists, yes.
But it's coming together, and there should be. I suspect they're going to have some kind of music there tonight, because I bet they really, really would like that to happen at this point, so they can relax and not have to be constantly working on building this dome.
They clearly came to party, not to build.
Yeah, and I imagine the second time they do it, because they own this. They did not rent this dome out.
Nice.
I imagine the second time they build it, it'll be a little bit faster and probably learned a few things from the mistakes. Like one thing, don't build the dome at night. Because what happened the first night, Rich, you and I we went over there.
If you build your dome at night, you're going to have a bad time.
Yeah, and when I first heard about them building, when Derek J had first told me about them building the dome at night, I'm like, yeah, I don't think that's a good idea. But he said, well, Stephen's an Eagle Scout and he's going to do this. And I'm like, all right. So we went over to try to help out.
I will say Stephen, the Eagle Scout, is incredible.
Yeah.
Awesome. I worked with him, but I mean, not every plan of mice and men works out.
First of all, even if they were trying to follow the instructions on the first night,
the instructions were wrong.
Well, you may say that may be true, but what was actually wrong was that they had confused some of the yellow pieces of the dome with orange pieces of the dome because it was dark, and you can't necessarily tell the difference between those colors in the middle of the night, even with a light that might be semi-shining on it that you might be holding. And so that's why when I was looking at it, I'm like, those seem like they're too short. I'm looking at these things
they
like,
were at the perfect angle. Right. They were pointing where they were supposed to go, but they were a foot too short.
Yeah.
It was like, it's not going to work.
Wrong. So we found a couple errors, and they got it all constructed yesterday, and now they're putting the finishing touches on it tonight, so it's going to be fun.
If two guys are going to be able to get it up, it's Derek and Steve.
Oh, yeah. By the way, helpmetakebitcoin.com is their website, and they do a great job of helping local businesses.
And that's AnyPay, right?
Yeah, those are the guys who created. Stephen is the brilliant mind, the programming mind behind AnyPay, who has allowed a number of businesses worldwide, as far away as Nigeria and Venezuela, coming on board to take cryptocurrency, and even some right here in this park. Mark, did you pay crypto for your food today?
I've paid crypto several times at this point for food.
Exactly.
And
was
it
getting
Bitcoin cash back? Or Dashback?
I used AnyPay, so I suspect so.
Maybe not. It depends. That's something that has to be approved, because if you sign up for AnyPay.global, if you sign up, you won't necessarily get the Dashback, which gives a 10% rebate immediately to the buyer, because you don't want somebody just taking advantage of that. There's a lot of scam artists on the internet.
Well, the other thing is they don't want to give 10% cash back when I sell you Dash for cash. They want to give cash back when I make a retail sale.
They want to do that for real verified merchants, people that they can say, yes, this is somebody who has a store, this is a real plumber, this is somebody who is actually doing something, instead of like some guy who wants to scam people out of money.
And sometimes people don't know that the vendor across the street from the Dome actually was signed up for AnyPay, but he wasn't listed as a brick and mortar restaurant. So I had to say, okay, well, you want to go across the street and talk to them so you get your cash back or dash back.
Yeah, and they could do it temporarily and then turn it off after the weekend's over or something.
Yeah, they definitely can.
So hey, we're out of time for today, but we got more tomorrow. In fact, 2 more days of broadcasting from here at Forkfest. Go to forkfest.party to learn more.
Don't you hate that feeling in the pit of your stomach when the police pull you over? Most people have no idea how to handle it properly, and they promptly get fed into the municipal fee-generating meat grinder. Or maybe you recall that feeling you get when you go to the mailbox and see one or more letters from the IRS. You get a sense of impending doom, don't you? So let me ask you, if you could learn how to use the law to beat the IRS, traffic tickets, almost any courtroom scenario, collectors, credit card debt, and even mortgage debt because of fraud perpetrated against you, would that be worth knowing about? Don't laugh. Investigate. Check out the life-changing benefits of the Lighthouse Law Club at their website, lighthouselaw.club. That's lighthouselaw.club. And while you're at it, visit the Lighthouse Law Club YouTube channel. You might be in for a pleasant surprise.